Yes,
Pause
yes.
the world. So I would just request Nilesh sir, because I am unable to share my screen over here,
Okay.
the PPT. So can you please run it for me?
What, ma'am? Can you repeat?
I am unable to share my PPT. A
Okay.
host disabled participant screen sharing. So can you please run it on my behalf, or you can give me the access so that I can share that
I
PPT
will give it access
on
one.
my own?
I will give you access one. Okay, ma'am. Now you can share your PPT, ma'am.
Okay, okay,
I given the access.
okay. Okay. Now, please let me know, like, whether are you able to see the complete screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So, as everybody is aware that interview etiquettes means the first step through which you can enter into the corporate world. So, for freshers as well as for experienced people, interview is a very mandatory procedure in current corporate world, as well as it is a very important thing wherein everybody should focus. So today's topic, interview etiquettes, has been divided into three parts. The first part would be pre-interview hacks. Then the second part would be interview day hacks. And the third part would be post-interview hacks. So I would slowly take you to one and every parameter so that you all will come to know like what all things you should prepare whenever you are applying for an interview and what all things you should not. Okay, so let's go one by one. Now, the first part is pre-interview hacks. So as the name suggests itself, that is pre-interview. That means before going for an interview, what all things you should prepare. Just give me a moment. I guess there is some error. Okay. So whenever you are preparing for an interview, I would always suggest to remember 3 R's. So let's go quickly. What are those 3 R's? The first R is definitely a resume. Now, resume for resume, there are various synonyms. There it is called as CV. The long form of CV is curriculum vitae, or you can call it a biodata. Or nowadays, many companies refer it as a profile. So, if any of the company is asking you for a resume or profile, then these are the things which you should take in your mind, and accordingly, you should prepare your resume. So now whenever the company is asking for any kind of profile or resume, that is the only thing which creates the first impression in the mind of an employer, because the employer has not seen you, so they don't know how your communication is or how your body language is. So resume is the first impression which an employer carries, and normally that carries throughout the complete procedure. So I would recommend that it should not be a generalized copy paste resume, which are now easily available on the social media or you can say on Google. Averagely, it is said that as per the statistics, every employer assesses your resume only for 25 seconds, not more than 25 seconds. So you have to be very sure that what all things you have mentioned in your resume, those should be quickly identified by the interviewer, or you can say the employer where you wish to work. And it should include all your interesting skills which you want to portray to the employer, that I have these many skills, and based on these skills I feel that you should ask me for the hiring. Now let's go to what all should be included in a resume. So the first and the foremost point is definitely your complete name. So you can either mention it in all capital letters or the capital plus small combination. It is altogether your choice. Then the second important thing is your email address. Email address is a must these days, because if your contact numbers are not updated and if the contact numbers are not reachable, then email address is the only option by which an employer can reach to you. So email address has to be mentioned on your resume. Then the third part is contact number. Now, when I mention contact number, then many times it happens that many people put in wrong contact numbers. I have observed it many times, like whichever contact numbers are mentioned, those are either not working or those are not reachable or it is out of service. So you have to be very sure that whichever contact number is effectively working, you have to mention that contact number. Now, along with that, I have mentioned that there should be an alternative number as well. So my suggestion would be you should always mention an alternative number of either of your family members, because nowadays it happens like every person is using two SIM cards and everybody is almost using a mobile phone which is having dual SIM facility. So in that scenario, if anything wrong happens to your mobile phone, then all of a sudden your both numbers are not working. And if in the same time, if any of the employer wants to reach to you, then your both numbers are not working, and you are losing a very good opportunity that you are might looking for a long time. So I would suggest that if you write down any of your family members' numbers, say your parents or your brother, sister, who can at least get down that message to you that this employer has contacted you, so you will not lose an opportunity. So this is a very important point about the contact number. Then the next point is address. Now when I mention address, so it is not required that you should write the complete address where are you staying, but then it is a choice. For example, if you are staying at a village like Vita, then you can mention in the address paragraph that Taluka Vita, district Sangli, Maharashtra. So that is well understood by the employer, that if any employer from Pune or Mumbai wants to reach you, then he'll come to know by looking at your resume that you are basically from Vita. And if you want to apply for a job, then you will have to relocate all the way from that place to the current city. So this is about address. Then the next part is introduction. Now here I have observed that many people do a simple copy and paste from Google, which does not at all indicate what kind of person you are, what kind of expectations you have from the company, or what kind of skills you have. So whenever, even if you're copying and pasting from anything which you like in Google formats, then please make sure that you read it thoroughly, what all things mentioned over there, and you should be correlating to that to yourself. If it is mentioned that you're a self-motivated person in any of the XYZ formats, but if you are not a self-motivated person, then that may lead you to a complication later on when you're facing an interview. Because interviewer might ask you after reading the first line that you're a self-motivated person. So give me an example. How come you're a self-motivated person? And if you're not that kind of person, then it is going to be very difficult for you to explain that to interviewer, and your first line of the resume is only contradicting your own nature. So make sure whatever introduction you are posting, that should be implicating your goals. What are your goals? In which sector you would like to work? So you should mention those things in your introduction. Then the next parameter is education details. So for a fresher, education details is the only criteria which you can highlight in your resume, because based on those education skills, the company or the employer is going to give you an entry into their process. So when I mention education details, so it is not at all required that you should mention only the name of your degree and name of college. No, you have to mention all complete details of your education. That too, I would suggest in a tabular format, which is easy for an employer or any third person who is looking at your CV to understand what is exactly your education degree. For example, the first column should be degree. Like if you have done SSC, that should be compulsory starting from your SSC, like SSC, then HSC, then your diploma or degree or the post graduation. So this should be in line. And then the next column should be from which university or from which college you have done it. Then the third column should include the year of passing. Now your year of passing is a must, that you should add it in your resume. And the last column is either the class which you have obtained, say first class, second class, or you can mention the complete percentage. So now, why I mentioned that year of passing is a must? Because many of the multinational clients have a specific criteria in even applying to a job for them, that the candidate should have completed their education in line. There should not be a single gap in their education. So if you mention year of passing, then only the employer is going to understand that you have completed your education in one go, and then only they will select your CV. If you have not mentioned it in your CV, then I'm really sorry to say, but your CV will not be entertained by the employer. So it is a very important thing that education details in complete detail format has to be mentioned in your resume. Now the next part is any certifications or crash courses or trainings done by you. So if you have done any kind of certifications, for example, for pharmacy people, I am very much sure that there is a training program which you carry out for, I guess, 60 days. So you are supposed to mention that that certification or training course which you have done in the particular organization. So in that also, you're not at all supposed to mention all the details of your project. There are only 3 points which needs to be mentioned in the project details or say training details. That is the name of organization where you have done your training program, then the duration. Now when I mention duration, then it has to specifically mention the month and year. For example, if you have done your training program from the month of January 2020 till February 2020, then it should be completely mentioned over there in from which to which month you have done your training program. Then the third point should be what was the objective of your project. So you can mention that objective within 2 to 3 lines. And the last point should be the conclusion of your project. That's it. So these 4 points should be mentioned whenever you are adding any kind of training program. The further details you are supposed to tell when you are in the interview process, because looking at your training program, the interviewer or the employer is definitely going to ask you, because that is the only thing an employer has to ask for a fresher. So they will ask you, tell me something about your project details. So in this particular question, you can explain about what all the things you have done in your project. So here I would recommend that you should not mention the things which you have already mentioned in your resume. If you have mentioned objective, then there is no need to tell interviewer what is the objective of your project. If you have mentioned conclusion, then it is not required that you should tell it personally. You can tell what procedures you followed. You can humbly say to the interviewer that the details of my project are already mentioned in the resume. So I would like to tell you what I have actually done, and it is not mentioned in my resume. So here employer or the interviewer will be impressed that you are not a person who will be focusing more on what all written in the CV, but you would like to tell it your experiences. So that is about certifications and crash courses. Then the next is any special achievements like awards. Now here I would please request you not to add anything like which you have attained in a college level, like winner of carom competition, or winner of volleyball competition, or winner of solo singing and all. So an employer is not at all interested in what all things you have done in your college. An employer is interested in what all things you really want to take ahead. For example, if anybody of you have attended a state level championship, or something related to national level, or something related to social working, which is really affecting society or which is really contributing to society, then these kind of achievements are expected. For example, if anybody of you is awarded as a best outgoing student in the final year, then that is an achievement. But apart from that, whatever small competitions you participate in college, it is not mentioned, it is not at all required that you should add those in your resume. Now just look at the slide here, and I have mentioned like what is the bad example and good example of a resume. The first point is obviously an unformatted word file, and the good example is professional formatting. So when I mean formatting, then it should be in line. Whatever, wherever capitals are required, you should write it in capital. Wherever small letters are required, then check all the commas, full stops, everything. So this is called as a professional formatting. Then the second is that it is not at all advised to go for a colorful background. A resume should be always in a black and white format. Now this does not mean that your background should be black and you should write the letters in white. The background should be always white and the letter should be written in black. Then the next is tacky font. If you take too many stylish fonts, then that will become very complicated for a reader or as a third person to read your resume. So you should always select simple formats which are easy to read. So for example, I have given few fonts like Calibri is worldwide accepted font, which is a professional font. So you can use Calibri font or Arial or Times Roman. So these are the three formats which are globally accepted as professional formats. So you can choose any of them. Then the next is words were wrong spelling and grammar errors. This is a must when you are submitting your resume to anybody. You should completely check that whether there are any spelling errors or there are any grammatical errors. It should not be there in your resume, because that gives a wrong impression of your language understanding. If at all there are any grammar errors or spelling errors, then employer will immediately catch that, and he or she will have a slight gesture about your what personality you have. If your CV carries so many errors, then definitely your communication might have a lot of problems. So please avoid that. Check your CV 100 times before submitting to anybody. And and good example, it should be in a sober professional format with PDF or HTML. Now why I would prefer PDF and HTML? Because if you share word file to anybody, then there are chances that people would do some editings into that which are not at all as per your requirements, and those will be passed on to the employer, which might lead to rejection of your resume. So always make sure that you change the format into PDF, and then only you send it to the employer. And the last and very most important point is carelessly copied and pasted matter with long and boring paragraphs. There should not be long and boring paragraphs in your resume. Rather than that, you can make bullet points. So if you make bullet points, then that become easier for the front person to understand what all things you exactly want to say. If you want to elaborate, or if you are asked to elaborate, then you can ask that elaboration whenever you are appearing for interview. So whatever message you clearly want to communicate through your resume to the employer, that should be very crisp and clear. It should be short and simple. So for this, I have mentioned a small word, that is KISS. That means keep it short and simple. Now, for a fresher, your resume should not be more than one page. Please keep in mind that if you think that if your CV is of 2 pages or 3 pages or 4 pages, then your CV is the best CV. No, your interpretation is absolutely wrong. For a fresher, your CV should not be more than one page, and for experienced people, it should not be more than 2 to 3 pages. Because as I earlier said that an employer spends only 25 seconds to see your resume. So in 25 minutes, 25 seconds, he is not at all going to see 2 to 3 pages or read such a lengthy paragraphs. So now let's move to the second point of R, that is second R, that is research. Now, when I say research, then research is not only about the company where you are applying, but the research is about your own skills as well. Before applying to any interview, you should first look at your skills, what all skills you have, and in which area you would really like to work. And once you get an answer to that, then only you can search accordingly the industries or the companies which are according to your skill set. And whenever you are doing a research about the company, then it is must that you should also do the research in the industry, like what is the current trend in the industry, what are the growth options for the industry which I am looking for, are there any kind of parameters which I'll be facing if recession occurs. So these kind of latest trends you should be aware. For example, current scenario. So because of current scenario, many people has lost their job. So in this scenario, you should also think about it, that if I have lost my job, then how am I going to cope with the current scenario, or how am I going to come with the future aspects as well. So this is meant by the research. Now, along with the company research, or along with the research of the skills which you possess or the market trends, one of the important research you should always do is the current market trends in paying salaries to freshers. What are the current pay scales, like latest pay scales which are offered in the industry? Because many times it happens, like when you have completed a graduation, then you have a misconception that हाँ मैंने B.Pharm किया है तो मुझे अभी 20,000 का सैलरी तो आराम से मिलेगा. So I will not say that there will not be companies who will be offering 20,000 to a fresher, but then Even if there are companies who are offering, those are offering based on the institute from where you're passing. For example, if you are passing out from an institute like Symbiosis, then obviously that is a nationally accredited institute, so wherein the students will definitely get the packages above their expectations. But apart from that, the package is offered based on your skills and knowledge and confidence. Whichever skills you have, based on that you will be offered the salary. So please be very sure about what all the latest pay scales are there, and even if you inquire in the company, like how much you will be offering to for this particular XYZ position, and if they give you a range, like in the range of 15,000 to 20,000, we'll be paying you salary. So it is not mandatory that even if they have mentioned the range, they will pay you in that range, because it completely depends on your interview, your skills, your knowledge. They will decide like whether this person deserves whatever range we have decided. So please do a research, and along with that, please do not mention anything which you are not aware about in your resume. A resume should always consider or include all those things which you are aware. If anything which you have added in your resume by just copying pasting from Google, and if you don't know that, and if an interviewer asks you that, then that is again a wrong impression of yourself. So whichever things you are writing, read each and every line from your resume 10 to 100 times, like whether I really know about this. If you know, then go ahead. If you don't know, then please drop that idea. Now if you want, once you are done with all these researches and you are applying to the company, for example, if you get a call from Cipla that your CV has been shortlisted for quality assurance position and you are requested to come down for an interview, then in that scenario, please don't blindly go to the company and attend the interview. If the call has been given by Cipla, then you have to visit the website of Cipla company, like what all their products are, who are the managing directors of the company, from how many years the company is into existence, and so all such things, all these basic things rightly you should know. This is the basic thing which every person who is attending an interview should know, that wherever I am going, whether that company is as per my expectation, whether that company is running long in the business, and whether I will be having a bright future if I enter in this company. Because most of the company HRs or most of the interviewers ask this basic question at the last of your interview, like what all you know about our company. So in that scenario, you should not left completely blank that I haven't done any search about the company. And the company will definitely think in this matter that if this person before coming for an interview have not searched about the company, if he doesn't know what the company is into, then why he or she will give 110% to the job which we will give to him or her. So this interpretation would be taken by an employer. So make sure that you either take the information through website or through LinkedIn or through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Nowadays you have a lot of social medias wherein you can get the information about the company. And the last point is carry 2 to 3 copies of your resume whenever you are attending the interview, to be on a safer side. Now, the third R is rehearse. Now, what do you mean by rehearse is whenever you are going for an interview, you should do a practice to yourself, because any employer or any interviewer would first ask the question, tell me something about you, or brief me about yourself, or introduce about yourself. So you should be, as a graduate or diploma holder, you should be able to answer this question in complete English. Why I'm saying complete English? Because this is the language which you are studying right now. So you should be able to introduce at least yourself in English. So rehearse yourself. For that, I would suggest use a mirror therapy, wherein you will stand in front of mirror and you will recite all those things which you have prepared. Write down the things which you want to explain about yourself and prepare it accordingly. Why in the mirror? Because when you stand in front of mirror, you come to know about your body language as well, that whether I am going too shaky, whether I am afraid, or whether my face is too dull. So it should be judged through a mirror therapy. So that I would suggest that do a rehearsal of whatever things you want to introduce about yourself. Then now, even before going for an interview, many companies these days go ahead with telephonic interview first. If they screen your resume, then the next step is going for a telephonic interview, or even Skype interviews are happening these days. So if a telephonic interview is to be there, then you have to be prepared accordingly. So for a telephonic interview, the first and foremost thing is your communication should be absolutely good, because that is the only thing through which they are going to understand what you want to say. If your communication is not proper, then they will not be able to understand what you are saying. And if you are unable to explain what you want to say, then how they will select even you? So you make sure that whenever you are going for a telephonic interview, please be very specific, very fluent and confident in your communication. Here your body language will not be judged, but then everything will be based on how you communicate. And at any point, if you feel that you are not comfortable in speaking in English, then you can always have an option to ask the interviewer that, sir or ma'am, can I say in English, or can I say in Hindi, or can I speak in Marathi? So if the front person definitely gives you a freedom that you can speak in whichever language you want to, then you are really good to go ahead with whichever language you are comfortable. So now this is about the pre-interview hacks. So now the next is interview day hacks. So whenever you are going for an interview at that particular day, then I would suggest to remember 3 P's. Now let's go through what are these 3 P's. The first one is professionalism. Here I have mentioned a mobile phone restriction. So this is the first and foremost thing I would suggest, that before entering even into the gate of company, your mobile should be on silent, not even on vibrating. It should be on silent mode. Or if you can put it on aeroplane mode, then you are supposed to do that. Then, now when professionalism comes, there are different aspects which correlate to professionalism. The first one is definitely your attire and appearances, which are really showing your seriousness towards the job which you want to apply. If you go but in too much casual clothes, and also definitely the company or the interviewer who will judge that if at all this person is not at all maintaining this professionalism right now, even before entering into the company, then what are the chances this person will remain professional after taking on board? So make sure that you maintain a professional attire. You should wear closed footwears at the interview day, so you can wear formal shoes or formal sandals, whatever it is. I would suggest you to always wear fresh colors and formal clothes. This is not for the interviewer to please interviewer, but then it is for boosting your self-confidence, because whenever you wear fresh colors, you always feel fresh within yourself, which is actually required at the time of interview. Do not wear too fancy clothes. This is especially for girls or women candidates. Like, you should always wear decent and sober clothes. Now, here in this slide, you can see like which is the professional attire for men and women. So these are globally accepted professional attires, which I have shown in this particular pictures. So for men, it is clearly mentioned like blazer is there, and formal trouser, formal shirt with a tie. It is there. And for women also, it is from formal trouser, then formal shirt and blazer. Even if you don't have blazer, do not bother much. If you can wear only formal shirt and formal pant, then that is perfectly all right. It is not mandatory to have blazer. So do not bother your family members for getting a blazer just for the sake of interview. Now, when professionalism comes, professionalism is always relevant to the time. If the time of interview is given of 10 o'clock, then I would suggest you to reach 15 minutes before the time. So this does not mean that you have reached 1 hour 45 minutes before and you are continuously nagging the respective receptionist or the interviewer, whoever is ready to attend you, or even the office boys who are present over there. So if you reach such a big time early, then that is okay that you are reaching before a time to the interview, but then that might irritate the respective person who is attending you. So have some patience. You just reach 15 minutes before so that you can settle down, And nowadays there are different procedures, like whenever you enter into the company, so on the gate itself you need to do the registration, you need to write on the register, then the watchman will send some requisitions inside, then and pass will be generated for you, then you are allowed to enter into the company. Then you once reach to the building, then there also you will have to write something at the lift also, or the welcome gate. So from there you will be going to the receptionist. At the receptionist, she will give you some form to fill up. So I am asking 15 minutes for these completing these entire procedure. So reach just 15 minutes before the interview and settle down. Now the next P is politeness. So when you mean politeness, it does not indicate that you should not speak at all. Being polite means you have to be very humble, like excuse me ma'am, using the phrases like excuse me ma'am, or excuse me sir, please ma'am, please sir, or thank you very much, excuse me. So these kind of polite words or gestures tell that you are a humble person, and these are judged always in the company premises. Nowadays each and every company has CCTV cameras, and they are always judging how your body language is, how you're approaching to anybody who is coming in your way in the company. So be very specific in your answer, be very polite wherever required. Do not give any false information. If company gives you a form to fill up, then please do not give any false information or false commitments, because it happens like if you give false information, these days companies are doing third party reference checks. They have assigned different companies who are doing reference checks, wherein they even sometimes come to your address which you have mentioned, and they verify whether you are really residing at this place, whether you have really completed education in your this institute. So be very specific that you should not give any false information, neither on your resume nor onto the any application form which you are filling in the company. And the last but important part is performance. So this is the crucial point and the important point, which starts when you enter into the cabin of the interviewer. So your mind should be stable. Do not create too many complicated statements. Be very simple in your introduction. Be very gentle in your activities. Then greet the interviewer, and do not sit until you are asked to. If you want to sit before entering into the cabin, you should first knock the door. May I come in, sir? May I come in, ma'am? And then only enter into the cabin. Once you enter into the cabin, or even if sometimes it happens like cabins are not there, but then in some cubicles interviews are taken. So in that scenario also, you are supposed to wait outside the cubicle. Once the person gives you a gesture that you may come in, then you are supposed to go inside. Do not sit on the chair unless it is asked. Even if they do not ask, that does not mean that you are supposed to stand up. You can ask, may I sit? Then obviously the answer will be yes, so you can then sit on the chair, and then carefully listen to each and every question which is been asked by the interviewer. It might happen that there are multiple interviewers. Need not necessary that only one person will take your interview, but there can be different interviewers, and everybody will be analyzing you in all possible ways. So somebody will be looking at your body language, somebody will be looking at your communication, somebody would be more interested than what all technical things you have done, and somebody would be interested more into, are you really aware about the job for which you have applied? So be very careful in listening to the question, and answer specifically when he or she finishes asking the questions. Do not interrupt the interviewer and answer yourself. So listen carefully and then answer your questions. Always back up your answers with examples. Any examples that might be your routine life examples as well, but then that should be backed with your examples. And whenever it is asked about your personal life, like interviewer may ask at the end, like tell me something about your family, then please be very specific. Do not get emotionally involved and start telling your personal problems or personal history. So just you can briefly introduce about your parents, your brother, sister, that's it. And it might happen that sometimes interviewer asks you the question from your syllabus which you have already studied, but then you are not remembering at that moment. So in that scenario, you can humbly say that, I'm really sorry, sir, or I'm really sorry, ma'am. I have studied this, I know, but then right now I am not at all remembering that. So if you give me 10-15 minutes time, then I can recall that and I can surely let you know that. But then if you are not aware there, or if you know a few points about that particular question asked, then please be very specific that do not tell anything false things which you are not sure about it. So if you are sure, then only tell. If you are not sure, then please do not tell anything. Otherwise, if the front person is asking you the question, that means that he or she is having a knowledge of that. And if you give a false answer, then he will immediately understand that you are telling something false and you don't know anything. So the last point is, don't talk too much and keep mom when interviewers reading your profile. So whenever you enter into the cabin, many times it happens like interviewer is reading your profile. So give some time to that person to read your profile. Do not keep starting, or do not immediately start like, good morning sir, my name is blah 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 blah. So don't do that. Wait for the interviewer to ask the question and then only respond. And the last part, so this is about the during the interview hacks, and the last part of today's training is post interview hacks. So when I mean post interview, so once your interview is done, then what all things you should keep in mind, these are the things. Now the first is, whenever your interview is done, at the end interview will always ask you, would you like to ask any questions? Then I would suggest that whatever doubts you have, there can be a doubt like, sir, I have read the job profile, but then I would like to know it again, like what all detailed things I would like to do. So this question once you ask, then the interviewer will explain you what will be your exact job profile. Then after that, if you have any other doubts like what will be my shift timings, or whether the company is located in different locations, and if they are looking for a different particular plant, where you wherever you are going for interview is a different plant, but they are hiring for a different plant, then in that scenario you should always ask like whether this opening is for this location or it is for some another plant, so that you will be sure. If at all you want to ask anything about salary, then you can ask them like, sir, what will be the salary range which will be offered? So these kind of questions you should always ask, and get it clarified at the end of your interview. Now, the next is, don't forget to ask the name of interviewer for your reference. Many times it happens like whoever takes the interview, sometimes he or she forgets to give the remarks. So in that scenario, if you are at least aware that who has taken your interview, then later on cases you can write down to the company that this person has taken my interview and I would like to know the feedback. So for your reference, take the name of the interviewer. Then the next is, your interview is not over until you're out of the site from the building where you had interview. So starting from the entry gate of the company, everything is judged, and please make sure that even if you're out of the particular premises, once you get out of the main building gate, then only your interview is over. Till that time you are completely judged through CCTV cameras, how you behave. Many times it happens like many companies has this habit to check the patience of candidates. So it is said that the interview timing will be of 10 o'clock, and many times they purposefully conduct interviews after half an hour or 45 minutes. So in these 45 minutes they are analyzing your body language and gesture, what all things you are doing in those 45 minutes. Are you continuously nagging the receptionist कि ma'am interview कब होगा, ma'am किती वेळ लागेल इंटरव्ह्यूला, अजून किती वेळ लागेल, आम्हाला 10चा टाइम दिला होता. So if you continuously keep on nagging to the receptionist, then these vibrations are passed on to the respective interviewer, through which he or she, what they will interpret, keep, if just for the sake of an interview, if candidate is not ready to wait for 45 minutes or 1 hour, then in future there might be some projects which would require few days to complete, or say few months to complete. So in that scenario, how you will maintain your patience? So just to check that, many companies has this trick that they will definitely keep you waiting purposefully. So in that scenario also, please do not get irritated with the receptionist or the office boys, whoever are there to attend you. Be very polite, and you can ask just once that, ma'am, is it going to take some time? Please let me know whenever my turn comes. So receptionist is very much aware that you have come for interview, and she'll keep that in mind and she'll send it once it has been directed to her from the respective interviewer. So have some patience. Now, the second last thing is, do not communicate anything about interview on phone to anyone unless you are out of the premises. Many people has that habit that as and when they finishes off with their interview, they will come and they will immediately start their mobile phone, and from the reception desk only they will start attending calls and they will tell, हाँ अच्छा हुआ interview, अभी हुआ, अभी पता नहीं कैसे, or they'll start giving random whatever experience they have. So please do not disturb the premises, do not disturb the atmosphere which is there in the company. You are suggested to please attend any phone calls whichever you have once you are out of company premises. And the last one is, keep a control on your body language. Your body language is a clear depiction of what all things you have said to the interviewer, or even what all things you have done in the company premises. So make sure it do not give any wrong gestures to the front person. Now, the last point is evaluation criteria. So, on which grounds a company normally does the selection or rejection of a candidate? The first and foremost point is technical knowledge. To whichever position they want you to hire, they will definitely check whether you have that respective technical knowledge or not. Now, when I say technical knowledge, then many companies has 2 to 3 rounds of interview. So in interviews as well, again that is a different topic, but then still I would like to just brief you about what kinds of interviews are there. Normally many companies have first aptitude test, wherein if you complete that aptitude test, then your first round of interview will be there. Once you complete first round of interview, that will be generally conducted by the HR of the company, who will check your basic communication skills, who will check your confidence, who will check your politeness. So these other behavioral aspects will be checked by HR. And if you are good to go ahead through that, then you will face a technical round. So there might be 2 to 3 technical round depending upon the position for which they want to hire. Normally for a fresher, there will be only one technical round required. So in that also, for whichever position they want to hire you, they will ask few basic questions about that, which are covered in your curriculum. So if you are able to answer those questions, then there your technical knowledge is judged. And the last will be salary discussion. So that will be again done by the HR, wherein the HR will ask you, like, we can offer you this much salary, are you ready to accept it? So if you are ready to accept it, then you can definitely say, yes, I am ready. But then if you have some queries ki nahi, I want minimum this much in hand. Now again, in salary as well, there are different aspects. Currently there are different companies who are hiring on CTC, that is cost to company basis. So when it comes to cost to company, then in that scenario, the take home salary, that means the salary which comes actually in your hand, it is pretty less, because they have considered contribution of PF, they have considered different allowances in that particular package, and a take home salary is different. So when the working is on CTC basis, you are suggested to ask the HR that whether you will be providing a CTC basis salary or it will be a gross salary basis. So if you ask this question, then you are pretty much clear that how much in hand salary you will get. So this will be the last round of interaction between you and company. So if you reach through this round, then you can be sure that your selection has been done, and they are just now negotiating with the salary and the joining procedure. So for joining also, many times companies or the HRs ask you, like, we want you to join immediately, to which I would suggest to give an answer after thinking each and every parameter. Because if you say, yes, I'm ready to join immediately, then in some scenarios, companies are there who takes your interview today, who finalize you today, and who ask you to join immediately from tomorrow. So in this scenario, you will have to think from your end, like, if you are locating to one particular city, if you want to relocate from one city to another city, then in that scenario, is it going to happen in one day? Then the answer is definitely no. So always be on a safer side. Whenever such questions are asked, like, are you ready to join on an immediate basis, then you can take 3-4 days buffer time, and you can tell them, like, I am ready to join within 3-4 days. Again, if you say you are ready to join in 3-4 days, the next question is going to come, that why you need 3-4 days. then you can be very specific about the local challenges which you will be facing. That since I'll be relocating from this place to this place, so I'll have to find out an accommodation for myself. So please give me time for that particular thing. So once you explain these things, then these are satisfactory and acceptable by the respective HR. Those will be considered, and then accordingly they will provide you the joining date. So this is about the evaluation criteria and few important things which needs to be analyzed at the time of interview, before interview, and after interview. So please keep all these things in mind. And now, if you have any questions, then the session is open.
Hello.
Hello.
Madam, can we go ahead with this questions from students?
Okay. But can you tell me like what all questions? Questions are being asked in
Chat box. It will come in the chat
chat
box.
box.
Okay.
Okay.
Some
Okay.
of you will
So
take them
now
from
I
the chat
will.
box, and some will take from the. They will raise their hands.
Okay. Okay. So now I have a question over here.
Students, if you have any question, you can enter into the chat box.
Yeah, see, I have a question from Vishwajit Patil
Okay.
regarding what about bond making with the company. Okay, so there are actually two parameters. Many companies does not have bond. If you ask me legally, then for a fresher, it is legally not allowed for any company to ask him to sign the bond legally. If you're asking me legally, but then many companies have this particular criteria that you will have to sign the bond. Obviously they will ask you because as a fresher they are giving you an opportunity. The company will be investing their resources to train you. The company will be investing some money to train to you as you are completely fresher in the industry. So in that scenario, I would suggest that even if the bond is there, as a fresher it is not at all a problematic situation if you sign a bond of say 1 year or 2 years, because that again indicates your stability as well to the company. If a company is good and you want to go ahead or you want to learn something from there, then there is nothing wrong in signing the bond. And there are companies who even if sign the bond, they give that leverage in case if you face any serious issue, like some serious medical reasons have been occurred, or serious family members issues has occurred, then they give that relaxation to the employees. So you should not worry about the bond much. And there are companies who will just ask for the sake of understanding your stability. They'll just ask, are you ready to sign a bond of 2 years? If you say no, then even if they don't have the bond, they will reject you, because they will come to know like you are not looking for a long term perspective, or you are not looking for a stable job. Then why should we hire you? Why should we invest so much time and our energy and our resources in training you? So even if they ask you, you can say like, yes, I am ready to sign, but then before signing I would like to go ahead with the detailed terms. So once you read the terms, then if you're not okay with the terms, then you always have a choice to say, I am not comfortable with this particular clause, so if you remove this clause, then I am ready to sign the bond. Okay, now I have a question from Vaishnavi Pawar. When I say, can I speak in Marathi or Hindi, then what impression can make? uh, please do not carry this thing like what impression they will carry. For them, they can really understand what through what a fresher goes, so they can give you that leverage. Don't They will not judge you based on your English communication. They will definitely judge you on the basis of your confidence and on the basis of knowledge which you possess. So do not feel offended that if you have asked to speak in Marathi or Hindi, that means you don't have those skills. तुम्हाला जे काही येतं ते तुम्ही कॉन्फिडेंटली कुठल्याही लँग्वेज मध्ये बोललात तर इंटरव्ह्यूअर कधीही तुम्हाला सिलेक्ट करेल. सो लँग्वेज इज नॉट अ बॅरियर, बट बिईंग फार्मसी ग्रॅज्युएट किंवा सायन्स ग्रॅज्युएट, इट इज रिक्वायर्ड की तुम्हाला ऍटलीस्ट तुमचं स्वतःचं इंट्रोडक्शन इंग्लिशमध्ये देता यायला पाहिजे. मग तिथून पुढच्या आन्सर तुम्ही मराठी किंवा हिंदीमध्ये जरी दिले तरी इट विल नॉट क्रिएट एनी बॅड इम्प्रेशन. Now next question is it necessary to put pictures in resume? No, I would suggest do not add any pictures in the resume. रेझ्युमेला मी मगाशीही सांगितलेलं आहे की कीप इन माइंड KISS, दॅट इज कीप इट शॉर्ट अँड सिम्पल. सो तुम्ही जितका सिम्पल आणि शॉर्ट तुमचा CV ठेवाल तितकं समोरच्याला तुम्हाला अनालाइज करणं सोपं जाणार आहे. कारण फ्रेशर म्हणून तुम्ही असंही बाकी काही गोष्टी टाकू शकत नाही. तुमच्या CV मध्ये फ्रेशर म्हणून अंडरस्टँड करण्यासारख्या गोष्टी असतात, त्या म्हणजे फक्त तुमचं एज्युकेशन, तुम्ही काही दुसरे ट्रेनिंग सेशन्स किंवा सर्टिफिकेशन्स घेतलेले आहेत का, आणि तुमच्या काही स्पेशल अचीवमेंट्स आहेत का. सो दीज आर द ओनली 3 थिंग्स ज्याच्यावरती तुमचा पूर्ण CV मॅटर करतो आणि ज्याच्यावरती तुमचा पूर्ण इंटरव्ह्यू जज केला जातो. Okay, now any more questions again?
Any question is there?
Okay, the next question is, how should be the eye contact with the interviewer? Obviously, eye contact is mandatory. You should have a positive and a humble eye contact with the interviewer. But then eye contact is mandatory. Please do not look here and there and answer the questions. You can straight look into the eyes of the interviewer and tell whatever you want. Then the next question is, ma'am, handling of any instruments include in CV? You can definitely add it unless our college life, these are hardly used in the interview. For example, autoclave and also these things are used in please. Okay, now the next question is, please suggest some courses for skill development we can go through in the pandemic situation. See, if you ask me, I would not suggest any kind of course as such, but then being into this, use of Android phones and internet. So if you download few applications, there are n number of applications through which you can enhance your communication skills or personality development courses. So you can do that. You can download those applications in your mobile phone and you can practice on your own. If you give hardly half an hour every day to your communication, like correcting your grammar, then it will definitely help you in this situation. Okay, next question is, what is scenario after this pandemic condition, whether companies will hire new employees? See, considering current scenario, many people has already lost the job, and whichever companies are working right now with a 30% manpower, they are also providing salaries of the employees with reduction. Like many companies are doing 20% reduction, many companies are doing grade wise reduction in the salary, and they are providing salaries to the employees. So if you ask me, I don't think like there will be jobs for another 2-3 months. But then yes, after 2-3 months, whichever manpower they have reduced, they will have to again fill that manpower to recover their losses. And this will be actually a very very good opportunity for freshers, because rather than hiring for trained resources at a higher cost, companies will definitely prefer fresher candidates who will be ready to work at a less salary. So be flexible in whichever requirements you put up. In some interview sessions, next question is, in some interview session, group discussion is taken. How to face that? See, for a group discussion, again, a few things are mandatory. The first is leadership skills. Leadership skills will be always observed during group discussion, like whether do you take lead. Now, to take lead does not mean that you only keep on speaking. And what leader does is, leader takes the lead, but then he pass on the leads to each and every participant present in for that particular group discussion. So even if you take the lead, then you need to make sure that you need to make each and every person who is present over there to participate in the group discussion, so that will be the best thing that will be judged in a group discussion. Apart from that, whatever your confidence and your communication skills or your interpersonal skills, those will be judged by your personal interview. But then this is the only skill which is highlighted in group discussions. Okay, now the next question is, how to face online interview. Yeah, So for online interview, the first and foremost thing is you should have a good internet connection, because if there are interruptions in the connectivity, then even if you are very good in communication or confidence, but then those things will not be portrayed in a right manner if there are too many connectivity errors. So you should have a good connection at your home, and wherever you are facing, please make sure that you are alone over there, so that nobody is disturbing you when you are speaking or when you are answering to the interviewer. So that is the only thing when you are facing an interview. That's it, online. Okay, the next question is, if interviewer asks that talk about yourself, that time how we start talking about ourselves? See, for this question, I would suggest you to write down, take a pen and paper and write down each and everything which you want to say. For example, कॉलेजमध्ये जेव्हा एखादा कुठला अँकरिंग इव्हेंट असेल, तर तेव्हा व्हॉट अन अँकर डज, की ते पेपरवरती पूर्ण लिहून काढतात त्यांना काय काय म्हणायचं आहे ते. So in the similar fashion, I would suggest you to write down about yourself, what all things you want to highlight. So त्या गोष्टी तुम्ही स्वतः पेपरवरती आधी लिहा आणि त्यानंतर त्याचं रिहर्सल्स करा त्याच्या खूप साऱ्या. मग त्याच्यामध्ये वेनेवर यू आर रिहर्सिंग, तेव्हा मग तुम्हाला अजून काही गोष्टी आठवतात की हा, मी ह्याच्या जागी हे बोलू शकतो किंवा शकते, किंवा मी ह्याच्या जागी अजून हे काहीतरी ऍड करू शकते. सो अकॉर्डिंगली यू कॅन प्रिपेअर. ओके, नंतर आहे द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज व्हॉट आर ऍडव्हान्टेजेस टू वर्क इन core companies. So can you, the person who has asked this question, can you please elaborate more about what do you mean exactly by core companies? Then the next question is, for final year student, what should be choice, PG or industry as per you, ma'am? See, if you ask me, every person has different needs. If a person is really from a poor background, a poor family background, and he or she needs to support his or her family, then in that scenario, I would always recommend to go ahead with a job. And if at all you are belonging from a very good family wherein you will be backed by for the further education, then I would suggest you to go ahead with the PG. But then in PG as well, I would again suggest you, like if MBA is an option which right now you are thinking like I want to do an MBA, then I would suggest you, like apart from MBA, if you have any other options, then please look at it, because MBA colleges सध्या अनेक झालेले आहेत. If you consider Maharashtra, there are n number of MBA colleges and there are n number of students who are passing every year with MBA degree. So सगळ्या MBAs ना कंपनी हायर करू शकते का? The practical answer is no. सगळ्या MBA कंप्लीट झालेल्या मुलांना नाही हायर करू शकत. Again, for pharmacy student, if you have a definite branch, for example, जे बीकॉम करतात किंवा जे बीबीए करतात, त्या लोकांसाठी एमबीए मध्ये फायनान्स हा ऑप्शन असतो, किंवा मग एमबीए मध्ये HR हा ऑप्शन असेल, एमबीए मध्ये मार्केटिंग हा ऑप्शन असेल. तर फार्मसीच्या स्टुडंटसाठी एज पर माय नॉलेज मार्केटिंग कॅन बी वन ऑफ द ऑप्शन्स. दोज हू वॉन्ट टू बिकम एन MR, ज्यांना MR बनायचं त्यांच्यासाठी असेल. पण बाकीच्या लोकांसाठी एमबीए मध्ये मग दुसरे फार्मसी रिलेटेड ऑप्शन्स काय आहेत, आणि इफ इट इज नॉट एट ऑल रिलेव्हंट टू युअर फ्युचर, देन वाय यू वॉन्ट टू गो फॉर MBA? So find out the answer for that and then go for select a PG course. There are right now different postgraduate diploma courses as well, की तुम्ही ज्या फील्ड मध्ये आहात त्या फील्ड मधले पोस्ट ग्रॅज्युएट डिप्लोमा कोर्सेस आहेत. सो फाइंड आउट दॅट, युटिलाइज दिस करंट पॅन्डेमिक सिच्युएशन का टाइम इनटू सर्चिंग ऑल दोज थिंग्स. You can go on the website of Symbiosis, wherein you will get to know n number of courses. So from those you can search the course of your liking, and then you can go ahead. You can search different colleges and you can search on again then. So this would be my suggestion.
Hello, madam. We can take it directly questions from students apart from the chat box. Okay. So
Okay.
the student having the question, they can just raise their hands. You can on your video. Students, please make your video on. All of you. You can make your video on. Okay. And just raise your hand if you have any question. Nimish, do you have any question? Samrin?
See, chat box मध्ये I have few more questions. Like one question is for PG, how to choose subject, which one is better? So again, I would say that it completely depends on your choice. There are different subjects. You think like whichever subject you are good at, I would suggest you to go ahead with that. Because if the subject is not of your choice and just because of market trends, like this subject is having good market opportunities and market trends, so I am selecting that subject. So I would suggest you do not do that. If you like that subject, or if you really have an interest in that subject, then go ahead with the PG, because
Yes,
market trends keep
just
on
raise your
changing.
hand
If
if
you
you have any
opt for
question.
PG for one particular year, and in the next year if the market scenario goes completely reverse, then it is not going to give the benefit for which you have opted to that particular course.
Anyone is having the question? Just raise your hand.
Okay, so I guess since no one is having a question, I have questions in chat box. The one is, which app is preferring companies for online interviews?
Okay.
So these days for online interviews, many companies are preferring Skype. So Skype is an option for personal interviews. Along with Skype, if it is a group interview, then Zoom, which right now we all are using. So these two apps are there, which are normally used by different companies. Okay. Now the next question is, ma'am, is it good for girls to work in production and QC department? So if you are asking this question based on just gender discrimination, then I would ask you, like, I would always tell you that in current scenario, girls are in every sector, in each and every sector, starting from petrol pump till the CEO of the companies. Girls are everywhere. So do not limit yourself looking at just like production मध्ये खूप वेळ थांबावं लागतं, or duties कशाही असतात, or QC मध्ये पण मला खूप वेळ थांबावं लागेल. So do not limit yourself. Whichever opportunity right now you are getting, you have to accept that opportunity, or else you'll have to stay jobless. Considering current pandemic situation, तुम्हाला जर कुठलीही job opportunity मिळत असेल तर accept करा, because the next 1 year or next 2 years are going to be very crucial for Indian economy. So if you do not accept the opportunity right now, there are very less chances that you will get the job of your choice in another 6 months, or say year, or even 2 years. So rather than sitting idle at home or jobless at home, it is always better to learn something. After a year or within 2 years, you always have that opportunity that you keep on searching into different companies, and wherever you'll get a good opportunity, you can switch your job. But then please do not lose any opportunity if you are getting right now. If you lose that, then that will be completely your loss.
Afrin, do you have any question? Afrin, Samrin.
Okay,
Just
now
unmute
again,
yourself.
two questions are there. Which domain you suggest to work? So frankly speaking, I would not suggest any domain for you, because as an individual, it is everybody's choice which domain to select and which job profile to select. So it completely depends on your liking which you want to go ahead. But then please make sure, like, whichever area you will enter in for the first 5 years of your career, that will be most likely to be your career throughout the life. So be very cautious when you are choosing your career for the first 5 years once you complete your degree or your post graduation. Many times it happens like after degree you accept a job, and once you actually get into job, then you come to know different opportunities, की मी हे केलं असतं तर मला अजून चांगली opportunity मिळाली असती, किंवा मी हा कोर्स केला असता तर मला अजून छान मिळालं असतं. So there is never too much delay. Even if you are on a job, there are different institutes की जे तुम्हाला distance learning courses करायला permission देतात. So while working you can go for these kind of institutes, you can study there, आणि त्यानंतर मग तुम्ही ते कोर्स व्हॅल्यू एडिशन म्हणून वापरून तुमच्या पाहिजे त्या इंडस्ट्रीमध्ये तुम्ही जाऊ शकता. So there is always an option if you really want to do. Yes, I guess I have answered this question now itself. The question is, ma'am, is it possible to do a job and our PG simultaneously? Yes, it is possible unless your PG institute from where you are or you are going to opt the PG, that institute should allow you to job. Because if your institute is not allowing, then companies can't help it. Okay,
Okay,
now
madam.
one more very important question I have gotten, that is after PG job or after graduation job, any difference? Yes, indeed there is a difference, because many companies have divided their salary criteria for freshers based on what kind of qualification they have. So for example, if you have completed diploma pharmacy, so if for an interview a diploma pharmacy fresher is there, degree pharmacy fresher is there, and a M.Pharm fresher is there, then in that scenario the salary brackets are different for all the freshers. Even if it is a fresher, for diploma holder it might be 10,000 per month, for degree holder it might be 15,000, and for M.Pharm holder that might be 20,000. So there are brackets, and it is definitely a difference when you complete a degree. Okay, now Rajesh Jagtap is writing, unmuting is not possible from participant side. Sir, please check the setting.
Jagtap sir. Okay.
The next question is, how would you see towards job opportunities in pharma field after end of COVID pandemics? See, if you ask me right now also, we are actually very fortunate that we are from a pharma industry which is contributing towards healthcare of the nation, or you can say towards the healthcare of the people. So pharma industries are still running. If you are under an impression that pharma industry will not have a future, pharma industry will always have a future. And right now also pharma industries are working with full strength of the company. It is not mandatory for pharma industries to have 30% manpower and work. Right now almost entire pharma companies are working, so you can be very sure about the future of pharma industry.
Okay. Anything is there?
I guess there are no more questions now.
Okay.
Afreen has written now.
Hmm.
A question is, for selecting candidate, what should you prefer, ma'am? B.Pharm fresher or M.Pharm fresher? See, it completely depends, because the knowledge set which an B.Pharm students would have would be always limited in comparison with an M.Pharm student. If you are comparing knowledge, so knowledge, the based on knowledge, it completely depends. Now again, there are criterias. If my company gives me the budget, okay, we are looking for a quality assurance analyst, and the salary budget is 15,000 to 20,000, and in that scenario qualification can be anything. So based on that, I would first check the parameters which I have already mentioned in the my complete training session. All those parameters I would first check, and based on that, if I shortlist two candidates, one is of B.Pharm and one is of M.Pharm, the last question would always depend on the salary acceptance. If I offer a salary of 15,000 to a B.Pharm fresher and 20,000 to a M.Pharm fresher, so if B.Pharm person says like I am not ready to accept with this salary, then I have no choice with going ahead with the M.Pharm students. And if both says that I am ready to accept, then in that scenario I will have to choose a ranking, like who was the best amongst everything, considering all the parameters in confidence, in communication, in your skill set, and in terms of flexibility as well. Because there are many people that who say keep if that job timing is of 9:30 to 6:30, then I won't be able to stay longer after 6:30 if required. So I will personally not choose such candidate who is choosy about the timing, because there might be the requirement from companies and in near future that you will have to stay long in the company and you will have to work accordingly. So if the person is not flexible, then I would not choose that person. Okay, now the next question is, ma'am, while checking our patients during that time, can we use our phone and check more about company, or should we go through our CV, or should we sit quietly till the interview starts? I would suggest do not use your mobile phones at all. If you want to study about company, then in many companies reception areas, they have some booklets, so you can pick up any of the booklet and you can study. If you want to go through any profile, then you can directly ask the receptionist, ma'am, do you have any company profile of yours? I would like to go ahead with the company profile. So you can take that, you can sit and you can read that. Many times newspapers are put in front of you, so you can pick up any newspaper, you can read that. If not, then if you seriously want to focus on your interview itself, then start reading your resume itself. Read it 10 times, 100 times, whichever times you want to, but then do not use mobile phone, please.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
So we'll restrict here questions.
Yeah.
So most of question you covered, madam.
One last question is, I guess, remained. So I would like to answer that question, and then if you all want, we can close this session. The question is, some companies take aptitude test. What is the criteria? So for aptitude test, the criteria is different for different companies. In multinational companies, the criteria are different. In the local companies, criteria are different. Sometimes aptitude tests or sometimes technical tests are also carried on, wherein if the job opening is a quality analyst or quality assurance analyst, then the entire questionnaire would be based on quality analysis or quality assurance. So you will have to be prepared with that, and you have to completely write down the question answer sheet. So it completely depends on the company what kind of parameters they would apply in. For example, if the question paper includes 10 questions, so you are not aware which question is for which marks, but then whatever the answer they are expecting, if you write that, then you will get full marks. But normally, if the question paper is of 10 marks, then out of that 6 is the qualifying marks. So if you have above 6 marks or 6 and above marks, then they qualify you.
Okay, sir.
Someone want to ask question. Sayali. Okay, Sayali, you can go ahead. Okay. So we'll cover here the questions. I would say it is a perfect session because most of question from my side you covered already. Like that, tell me about
I'm
yourself.
really glad to hear that the session covered each and every parameter relevant to the interview. So I hope everybody has understood the session, and they will keep it in mind whenever they are attending interviews.
The most important question was asked in the every interview. Tell me about yourself. You covered that. Okay,
Yes.
that is the first
See,
question from
for a
every.
fresher or for
Okay.
any person who is attending, let it be a fresher or let it be an experienced person, this is the first one foremost question that tell me about yourself. For an
Right.
experienced person, it is always like they have so many things to tell about their experience, about their past jobs or about their past employers. But then for fresher, it is a very crucial question because they haven't worked anywhere. So they have to be very specific about what they want to exactly portray to the employer. So as a fresher, it is very important question, and they should thoroughly prepare. Utilize this time. If you don't have studies at this point of time, then utilize this time. Start writing down what you exactly want to say. Prepare your CV. Show it to 10 people that whether it is appropriate. And if at all you feel that you need my help as well, then I am very free to help all of you. You can share your resumes to your professors, and they can send it to me. I'll correct your resumes, and if required, I'll give you marks as well. Like out of 10, how much you have secured in your designing your resume.
Madam, now how do you see this current situation affecting the recruitment and future of this pharma profession in coming 2 years?
See, if you ask me about future of pharma profession, then pharma profession is never gonna die. So, but since we are into healthcare industry, so similarly, just say doctors, nurses, they are playing their important role. Even police, they are playing their important role. Government is making different announcements every day coming in. So, along with that, pharma is the industry wherein medicines are going to be required till the human being is there on the earth. So pharma industry has a very bright future. So people should not worry about the future of pharma industry. And as far as current situation is considered, definitely recruitments are hampered because many employees have already lost their jobs, and companies are really not sure like how long this situation is going to go ahead unless and until we find out the vaccination and it is easily available in Indian market. It is going to be very crucial for each and every employer to take this risk and keep their businesses running. But still, recruitments will happen down the line. After, I guess, 5 to 6 months, the situation will be in a normal phase, I guess. So
Okay. Pankaj Jadhav sir, the comments from your
Okay.
side for this session.
Very comprehensive and excellent session. Sayali was my classmate in D Pharmacy, D Pharm classmate, and she is very good in explaining and also answered very good for the questions of students. And overall, it is from last 1.5 hours. It is very good session. Actually, it is also absolutely appreciated by our faculty. So, thank you, Simon.
I am very glad that this session is useful to many students. And thank you very much to especially Pankaj for approaching me to guiding these students. And I would love to again, whenever it is required to help the students in this particular aspect, I would be always easily accessible. So you all are very free to write down emails to me whenever you people are in need in regards to anything which comes to HR aspect, not only interview etiquettes, but then in respect of all HR aspects, you are very free to ask any possible questions. I have already provided my email addresses to Pankaj sir, so you can take it from him if you require. And for this sessions PPT also, if you require, then you can ask your professor. I can share it with them. So once again, thank you Pankaj, and thank you Nilesh sir as well.
In last session, I will last part of the session, I will give some thanks to the persons who are supported us to use this platform. So first of all, I would like to thank Mrs. Sayali Nimbalkar for accepting our invitation and giving such a valuable information to our students. Then I would like to thank Professor R.A. Kanai sir, Executive Director, Principal R.B. Jadhav sir, our Vice Principal Admin, Professor S.J. Sajne sir, Vice Principal Academics, Professor Rajesh Jagtap sir, all the faculty members and dear students. Thank you for coming in this session and giving your time, and hope we will see ma'am again in our college, one-to-one interaction. Okay. So with
Definitely, I
this
would
session,
love to.
with
And
this,
in near future, if I have any pharma companies as well, but since I have my own healthcare company, so definitely we require DPharm and BPharm graduates. So whenever I'm in need of requirements, then I'll definitely get in touch with Pankaj to provide me candidates. And along with that, if I have any other clients in healthcare as well and come across any requirement for pharma graduates, then I'll definitely get in touch with your students.
great.
And I would be
Okay.
happy to place them.
Okay. So I will announce here. We have concluded here session, and today's webinar session is over, and we will see in the next webinar session tomorrow. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, madam.